This is David Wheaton. The following is a short take from the Christian Worldview radio program. You can hear the full program at thechristianworldview.org. How is that helpful to understand how secular people think?
Well, I think it's really important that as Christians that we understand where other people are coming from before we try to just dump truth onto them, right? We want to share truth, but we want to share it as effectively as we can. And one of the best things that you can do is seek understanding to see where people are coming from before we try to share with them. So in Faithfully Different, my last book, actually, I give what I call the 4 tenets of secularism. And those are the ones that you just read there. And the 4 tenets of secularism really come back to this idea that a secular worldview is all about the authority of the self. I'm going to look to myself to determine what is good or bad, right or wrong, harmful or helpful. That is the secular worldview. And that is, of course, different than a Christian biblical worldview, in that we're looking to the authority of God to determine these things about what is good and bad and right and wrong and so on. And so when you have that, then you start to realize that if everyone in culture around you is all about the authority of the self, they're actually, ironically, going to start thinking a lot alike. And so when we start to see things like the He Gets Us ads, for example, that we were talking about, you see exactly that mentality that they're trying to appeal to people's ideas about Jesus, that the commercial asks, what is greatness really about? I might be getting the exact wording there off, but in greatness, according to this ad, was pushing the car out of the snow and helping people. But Jesus wasn't here to tell us that we're great. I mean, this completely misses the message of Jesus and the gospel. It's not about that we're great. We do good works to glorify God. It's how we love others is an outflowing of how we first love God. Whereas this commercial makes it seem like doing good works is the end in and of itself. And so they feel good. They get towards feelings as being people's guide. You know, yes, I agree with that. I agree with that Jesus I'm seeing, because that makes me feel exactly the way that I felt before, that yes, I want to help people. And that makes me happy. You know, happiness is the guide. People justify all kinds of things today by saying, well, it made me happy, right? And judging is the ultimate sin. If you are a culture based on the authority of the self, there is nothing more offensive than someone coming along and saying, hey, you're doing something that you shouldn't do, or you should be doing this instead. Why? Because that points to an authority other than you. So it's the most offensive message that you can have. But that's why you don't see these He Gets Us ads showing a Jesus who judges in any way. You don't see a Jesus who says, hey, there's actually an objective definition of right and wrong and good and bad. So it leaves out all of the important messages of Jesus and actually mischaracterizes the message of Jesus as well. So I think that those ads really are problematic for all the reasons I wrote about in depth online. But yeah, it does represent a very secular worldview, coming back to those tenets that you read.
This has been a short take from the Christian Worldview radio program. To hear the full program and connect with this nonprofit radio ministry, go to thechristianworldview.org. I'm David Wheaton.